Hello, everyone. I know it's been a while since I have been active on my podcast, but I just want everyone to know I have been working really hard on my academics, especially with all my assignments and homework. I did finish pretty strong this past fall semester with some of the best grades I've ever gotten in all of my college career and stuff, so I'm very happy about that. I just want to tell y'all I am graduating this upcoming spring from my undergrad. It's been a long journey, but I'm so happy to be done. Now, before the episode starts, I just want to do a huge shout out to Hwj Sawv for being the digital graphic designer and always being able to conceptualize and visualize all my dreams for me and everything I see and being able to design everything on point. So I just want to say a big shout out to Hwj Sawv for being great at what she does. Check her out. And also I want to do a huge shout out and thank you to my brother, DKL David Coming-Lo, for producing the music for this podcast. Huge thanks to that. And also before we start, huge thanks to Henry for being here with me today. And let's get this episode started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hey Billy podcast. This is the second episode. And today I'm here with one of my greatest friends, one of my brothers, really one of the greatest guys I've ever known in my life and one of my biggest supporters. Want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Thunzia Henry Tao. And thank you, Billy, for this awesome opportunity to be on this podcast with you. We're on episode 2. And let's just get started.
Yeah, so the thing about Henry that I want to tell everyone first, is, as a shaman, you need I want to break this down so everyone kind of knows Henry's role within my journey as a shaman, and, his continuation in my life. So Henry is one of my Hwj or one of my shinings. So pretty much during my ceremonies, good morning, he goes with me, like spots, pretty much we created the nickname spotters just because it's easier for us to meet out people, but that's pretty much what it is. That was Henry did that with me for I don't even know how many years.
It's been a couple of years.
I started, but the thing is, it seemed like it was really long, but it actually was only like 2-3 years. I think that's because we did so much though. We did so much onengs and stuff, but so that's what Henry is. He's one of my spotters, my Hwjs. Still, we don't oneng as much anymore. We've taken the break off that, but every New Year's, Henry still shows up. And throughout the year, Henry still goes. So let's start off with I have some questions from audience members today and stuff. But let's start off with the most basic thing is, where we all started, like how we started this, Henry. I think I met you the first time, I think it was Yellow Lang, right?
Yeah, it was Good Sealing and their it was their, I think it was like one of a ceremony over there for like one of my family members or my dad's younger brother, of course. And that was crazy because I saw there and then they're like, and then I look over and then they're really cutting paper and I'm like, he's a child, he's a teenager. I'm like, wow, so young, right? And I'm like, okay, all right. I was like, I don't know. Like, you just don't know because you usually see Ning Lao or the older people usually take care of like the ceremonies and stuff. And seeing a younger person was like, okay, it's different, right? And then first we saw TT, who was the first Hwj, right? The first spotter. And then seeing him do that whole entire journey and then seeing like, I remember he used to burn those flowers for papers and stuff. I remember he used to burn those white flowers or and such, if I'm correct. It's been a while, but that was the first time I saw you do your ceremony. I'm like, like Dutao and them are pretty close. I'm like, maybe this could be my chance to learn something from a younger person, right? Because I think for all of the younger Hmong folks or just the younger like Hmong folks in general, we're like asking about all this and that because sometimes they'll just say like really short answers or they'll say like small palu to you and you're like, oh, okay. And
you're like, what?
You're like, oh, okay. So I'm like, oh, I really want to learn. This could be a chance to learn something, right? Because at that point in time, I think, when was this? Sophomore year? I think I was a sophomore in high school.
Oh shit, you were.
Yeah, I was. Very, very young. And I think that's when I kind of identify myself as being like, itu mo yung Hmong guy, you know? And I was like, I'm so intrigued with Hmong Kenku and Hmong Kalikijai, or, you know, Hmong history and Hmong culture and tradition. So I was like, you know, I really want to learn something, especially from a younger person who's also probably learning themselves. So yeah, it just kicked off like that, and ever since it's been a journey. So yeah.
Honestly, when I first met you, Henry, I thought you were like a cocky, sporty kid who's like, you know, the really whitewashed young
Yeah.
kids who are into sports and don't give a shit about anyone. First time I saw, I was like, so it seems, because you were you were really quiet and you were really like more distant, and I was like, oh, his cousins are like literally spotting with me, but like joining got to do more. And I was like,
Yeah.
maybe he doesn't like it, but I thought I just shy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so funny too. Yeah. But dang.
That's really where it all started. I
Mhm.
totally gotta mention TT, because TT was
Yeah.
like the beginning of it. Was beginning of it all. He was like the first
Yeah.
young
Definitely.
person to help me. And
Yep.
for reference to the audience, I've
Mhm.
had my first you know, spotters. My first two shows were not you know, the guys, you know, we were all just a bunch of guys. Team Hwj was not
Yep.
Team Hwj. That's what we call ourselves. It was like my sisters and, you know, the older folks in my family. But the thing is, like, and mostly I had owning so much, where, you know, we also needed some people who could compare with me. Plus, it wasn't easy to learn, and y'all were actually the first people out of all the OGs in my family, all my older siblings. Y'all were actually the only, and still some of the only people, except for my cousin Fu. You know, and with
Mhm.
like PZ, and, you know, Cha. Like, besides them, y'all were really and the only people who still know like yeah. I totally lost where I was going with that. I started
Um,
thinking so much about everything we used to do.
yeah, it's crazy, like you said too. I'll direct you back. What, going with like, there's so many things. Like, it's crazy because we can talk about one topic and we just veer off because, you know, in that small span of just a year or 2 years or 3 years, we did so much. So, but then going back, I think we were talking about TT.
Oh yeah, yeah, and just,
Yeah.
you know, that guy started all, and then, but I really, you know, I thank TT a lot, and in a way I owe him a lot, because he gave me all of y'all, and and the thing, the biggest challenge of Team Husha for me was learning how to teach you guys, learning how to teach all
Hmm.
the guys, breaking down like thick ass, you know, breaking down go nang and shit into
Yeah.
English so we can understand it first, and like and we taught some other things with alcohol and how to
Oh, it's so much fun. I think if I still had my device that I had during my sophomore year, it would have all the notes.
oh, your
Yeah.
tablet, dude, I remember
Yeah,
that.
it was all the steps. It was like, okay, okay, so I'm like, okay, note it down, write it down. So literally all the Hushas either had something on their device or in a notebook. So yeah, it was all like, so
Oh,
I was like trying to learn a little bit. You're like, if I don't get it, at least I'll get the little part and then the rest will follow. So yeah, I remember
damn.
those nights. Yeah.
I remember every time you just totally clogged my memory. I'm getting so much like flashbacks. I remember every time one time, you and Tucci always, and all of y'all, in the car, like, you know, on the road, on the drive. I always drove,
Yeah.
because y'all, none of you can drive yet,
Yeah.
so we drove, and I would always drive, and y'all be always on your phone rehearsing, rehearsing, just thing, especially if like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, people want to or people want you know,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember those were really youthful days, and I don't think one thing I never told y'all was a lot of times I like when y'all asked me like something, I literally had to like stop, and then like I will come back with the answer. Like sometimes y'all message me, oh,
Uh-huh.
what's this? I wouldn't message you back because I had to go ask my master first, because even I didn't
Yeah.
know. So y'all pushed me to grow, and we became so successful though. So Henry, what were some onengs? What were your most memorable onengs?
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Oh man. I can remember most of mine because they were just so each of them had their own thing. Like each of them had their own small little things that you always remember. But one of the most memorable ones has to be one thing that we went to Minnesota, and they were like, "Yo, one thing pala," and they're like, "Okay, one thing pala is like and tự nhiên the whole and everything." So I was like, "Okay, we're just gonna do that." And they're like,
I remember that.
"Yeah," and they're like, and they're like, "Oh yeah," and then there's 3 pigs. So we're like, "Oh, okay." Then what's the third one, right? And they're like, "Oh, they're not yet copying yeah." I'm like, and then I remember we're like, "Oh, okay, you have to cause huh?" And so you have to which is like getting the spirit in a coffin or something, if I'm correct. And that was one where Billy's like, I'm gonna have to die. I'm like, why, what? Wait, what? Say it again. Yeah. And then I was like, wait, what? Say it again.
I remember. Okay,
Yeah.
keep going. I remember.
Yeah. And then Billy's like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, what? And then I didn't know what that was because that was one of these ceremonies where I was like, I only knew, I think at that moment, but so shy, shy, and then like a little bit of like, the small, bigger ones. But when fala, I think I did it once, and then this is my second time. So I was like, okay, it's minji, and then but then I've never done chata plunza. So I was like, I'm like, whoa, whoa. But yeah, I remember that one the most because that was the most. It felt stressful to me, but overall it was really good, and it was successful. So yeah, and now they're doing well. So that's the good thing. But yeah, that was my most memorable ceremony.
Wasn't that day? It was a summer. It was summer, and it was hot as fuck, right?
It was,
I remember,
yeah.
and then the house was really small, right?
Yeah, it was. And then I think you drank some dairy products too, so it didn't even help.
I remember I was on the way there. I always got ice cream. I love eating ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm lactose, so I got ice cream. And then I was like, okay, y'all are holding me, but because show, and I'm like, if I fart, something can help it. It's going right in your face. Remember?
Yeah.
When we got there. And like oh yeah, bé tuần trước tụi play nè nó luôn ra nó thọ có tô một trà thế này. And I was like, oh shit, của lấy trả, or like có tô để tô có lấy trả nó. And I was like, fuck. And then I remember looking at y'all, I was like, dude, we have no choice. Like, you're gonna do this rather. And I hated doing that because y'all always scratch me when y'all open my palm. TC always scratch me.
You're good.
Wait,
no, it's all good.
Day? It was you, me.
It was JvTC, and I, or maybe KP or YT. It can be any of us, I think, at that time, because yeah.
You just named off all of them.
Yeah, because I don't remember who came. I remember it was JvTC. It was and there was I or me, and then I forgot. There must have been another person. Or if not, it would have just been like us 3 or 4, to watch. So it was fun.
I don't know, we won't too much.
Yeah, it was fun though. But yeah,
it was
I remember
fun.
that's.
Shato.
It was, wasn't it? Because when you do it, you have to the person has to hold the head, and then the ceiling lays flat, horizontal with the table. And then one spotter holds the head with the lutaideja, or the water, and then you have 2 people on the upper body, 2 people on the lower body, and then you have to break. So you have to make sure you open the palm, like it'll be fist closed. You have to open the palm, and then you have to break the elbow on the upper body, and then lower body, the legs go straight. So you have to somewhat put the toes back up to the normal place, and then break the knee, and then make sure you put the bells back on because people forget about that, and then put your tunings right back on, and then Yeah, I remember the lower body was so hard because dang, I don't know, at that time you did a lot of running into. You went to like you lifted a little bit. So
Oh, yeah.
we that lower body was pretty dang hard and I couldn't do it. So with the kalia, I pulled the leg apart and like morning nhỏ kia rút trong đây ra like they broke. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember when you did that, and it was hella painful. I literally remember laying there like stiff ass body. You know, you're in trance, so you're just kind of laying there. And I'm
yeah,
like, hey, I remember you. You know, you were still
yeah,
sophomore, going to junior year, and you
yeah,
pulled me. You like literally pulled me. So my legs came off the table, and then you just
yeah.
took it against it, and boom, and I was like, ah. Hey,
Yeah,
that was a good cheat though, because y'all were taking forever, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna die. You don't
yeah.
come out of the ceremony, you're supposed to die. So
Yeah, that was, I think, yeah, I think that was so memorable because I remember you telling us, like, make sure to put your tunings right back onto my hands, okay? My fingers, right? Because you don't, then I can't come back. I'm like, okay, so I remember that. And then I remember, because I know you wear like those copper, shooting copper ones. So when you're shaking
mm,
them, your hand turns a little green, right? Like, that's just like the
yeah.
rubbing and all that stuff. So I was like, and he's like, yeah, so when I turn this color, that means that I might not make it. So I was like, so scared. So right when I broke the leg, you faced it toward the altar. I was like, where's the bell? Where's the tuning? I was looking for them. And then I looked at your fingers and instead of thinking like, oh, you're copper. So I was like, oh, Billy's turning blue and stuff. I was like, oh, run, run, run. So I was like, it was a low key panic
What
there
the
too. So
heck?
yeah, so I was like, oh my God, Billy's not gonna make it. So I grabbed everything and I put on the finger. I'm like, grab that one, grab that one. And we all just kind of, conducted everyone to follow what we were supposed to do. And it turned out good. So yeah, still here today
What
to tell the
what people
stories.
don't know though, yeah, what people don't know about like everything you explained, everything you just said, that all happened within like 30 seconds. That's like
It
how
does.
fast
Yeah,
you have to
it
move.
is.
Oh
Yeah,
damn.
yeah.
And I remember I would purposely scare y'all. I would purposely use fear to make y'all remember things because I was like, if I don't scare you into thinking I will die, or like, because I don't know if I'll die.
Hmm.
I've never tried to prove it. I'm not gonna try to prove it. The
Yeah.
little so-called saying is true, but I always use that in a way because I think it was because for me I was always really scared, and
Hmm.
I was like, damn, if I have to go into this, because I told you the story at New Year's and how my ass got stuck in that and almost couldn't come back,
Hmm.
and it was because the freaking bells, and so damn, I can really used to memorize all that.
Yeah, I remembered it because it legit scared me, but then I knew it was gonna be all good when I had the balls right back in. So I was like, okay, we're good. Yeah.
that that was good.
Hmm.
For me, most memorable oneng with y'all, because at a certain point we did stop, and then I
Hmm.
still had to oneng though. But with y'all in the prime days, um, okay, I'm gonna pick one with you. Oh my,
Yeah.
the one with you is obvious. The one where we went for my uncle, and we
Oh
had to face.
yes,
So
yes.
one of the
That
only
was
action, like one of the only ceremonies where we experienced some like true, I would say, real paranormal stuff.
it was. Yeah. 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 Go for it. Explain it.
And so then that day, Henry, so that it was last minute morning. So I had an uncle, and he was very sick. A relative was very sick, and this relative of mine, they didn't know if he was gonna pass or not. And so then their spouse asked me to come. My auntie asked me to go and one for them to buy uncle and everything. So we went. But it was that day though, because we got the news. I got the news that day, and my auntie wanted me to go. So I literally called up KP and Henry. I was like, we had the group chat. We had the Hwj
Yes.
group chat in which
Yeah.
every weekend I messaged, and it was cute. Going off topic, I'll come back. It was cute because Ying, or not Ying, everyone would always message like on Thursdays or Fridays, hey, do you have a ceremony? Because I always forgot to tell y'all, and I would
Yeah.
always tell y'all like Friday night. So y'all always ask me like way beforehand, and I
Hmm.
appreciate that because it showed how much y'all cared about me. But going back, so then it was the group chat, right? So that message got you and KP. We went long ass drive, and this was December 31st, right before New Year's, and so my sophomore year of college. And here we were 3 years ago. So here we went. and we did the ceremony. But then like you know when they say people are gonna die and like you know their ancestors, their relatives come or spirits come. You know, like I've always heard about this, but as a Tsineng, we don't meet that much. You know, people think as a Tsineng we face so much ghosts, but we really don't. It's like 5% of the time. And so we went to Onang and they bé thầu bé thành cái cuộc thành they thầu lúc thanh năng to ra cái cuộc thành chuẩn chủ bé cái bé有贴纸了呀bé bé Onang贴纸 well when we got in there in the first place you could feel how eerie and how heavy the house was.
Yes.
And what was funny is what was made me kind of like made me really ponder was that usually only I feel like, you know, the pressures, but y'all, the moment we walked in, you and KP both were like, boom. I never even asked, like, I've never even asked your perspective. Like from the start. I've never even asked. How was that from the start from you?
It was very, very different. Like, I think going to the ceremony, I still remember too. It was right after school and right outside the parking lot of our school. And Billy just like, oh, I'm here. I'm like, okay, come. They run through the door. We get there in Wausau. And by that time, so it was almost about to be sunset. And I remember going in and it was just uncomfortable. Like, I could not, it was like hard to find words to explain. Like, it wasn't like uncomfortable, like something was poking you. It was just like, you know, something that you're not really settled. Like I think one of the sayings is like kind of sense. Like your heart just like you know, because you know something's off. And but you know, we just thought it was nothing too difficult. Like there's a warning shy or maybe a little something here and there, because there wasn't a lot of people. So we're like, oh, there's a warning shy, and just seeing what's going on, right? So yeah, that was my perspective going in. I didn't really think it was too much, but you can still feel it. But then if you just think of it like, oh, maybe it's just like a normal winning, then it didn't really bother me at that point. But yeah, I'll let you explain when you were doing your steps once we entered and everything. So you can go for it.
Yeah, so we entered, literally felt the same time. It was kind of awkward because but and then I went to go, you know, see my uncle. I remember he did not look well at all, and you know, it's because Hmong, they were doing some other Hmong stuff, and you know, he didn't look well, he didn't look lively, obviously, just because that was the end of his life. And I remember and I tied a string on y'all just because I was feeling more and more like paranoid, but at the same time I was feeling more as if people were watching us, and so I was like, this is weird. And so then I tried to string it. I remember I did not let you go in that room. I specifically did not want you guys to see my uncle, just because I didn't want it to traumatize y'all. Just because when I walked in there, and so I was like, damn. And I knew that I was concerned for you and KP's safety, because I knew that we were dealing with something that we're not that experienced dealing with, because you know, we don't face that much. We don't ever really see spirits. So boom, me Onang, and then I'm not gonna talk a lot about the Onang experience though, but I was like Tikwa, and you know, we got a Telu J during the ceremony, and then I felt so goofy, and I looked through the veil and I could see through it, and I saw like these Hmong people. I saw one like next to my altar, one was like on my right side, one was standing right next, kind of because you were spotting me.
I was behind you.
KP was on my left.
Was the left side? Yep.
Oh yeah,
left
okay.
side.
So he was on the left side, and I felt weird, and then I stopped, and then when I onang, just so everyone knows, I you know, like most shamans can do this too. It's a typical thing. I can like stop and you know, look through my veil. Not like I see through it. My veil is just, you know, it's cloth. It's see through. So it's kind of see through. So I looked through it just to kind of like, why do I feel like there's a lot of people, and I saw those people. And then I didn't want to tell y'all about what I'm seeing, but I knew that I had to, because I need to warn y'all. And I told y'all. And then what were you experience, like from that perspective? How were you feeling? Because, and you know, you were feeling shit.
I think right when we started, you know, I remember everything too. I remember all the candles that we lit it up. Like if I could rethink everything from that ceremony, it would have just been like it was yesterday, because it was crazy. and I think that has to be one of the second most memorable endings too for me. And but yeah, it was crazy because I think right when Billy Txiv and everything, calling upon the spirit helpers and everything, the house just got cold. Like it just went like I don't know, the temperature just dropped, and I'm like, huh, okay. And then I think right when you said that, I wasn't too worried because so for everyone to understand like how I think how the spotters where we are kind of positioned. So of course we have the altar in front of the Zining and then the Lutoning, of course. And then we have one Hwj or spotter behind that, behind the Zining. And then we have one person on the left side because we usually burn money paper on the left side. So, you have the Yuhlonia and all that stuff. We have one person on the left side. So, you Tichilala, like, hey, go burn money paper. So they just be there and they know the queue, they just burn it right away. So then it's just like, it's more efficient. And then we have like, I guess, two or more spotters. So we have a third one. We'll put them on the right side just so so they don't like cross the ceiling or anything, so we don't have to like fight with them. So we just put one there. But that night it was just me and KP. So KP was on the left side burning money. I was in the center, and then I remember Billy's aunt and uncle were on the right side. On the right side. So we're like, okay, we got all of our like a little side, like a little cover, right? So we weren't too worried. And then right when Billy's like, hey, I think something about spirits are here. I'm like, oh, okay. And the next thing you know, your hair just shoots straight up. It's so staticky.
Oh yeah.
And then your ears kind of ring a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like it's gonna go down. Like, it's gonna go down. And I never believed it until that night. And that made me believe like, oh, you're more spirits. You're more like da, because when people always think about da as like, banzong and everything, but da is just like spirits. So that's when I believed that there were spirits upon us, and I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was my experience. So yeah.
That's why it was so like memorable, because even for me, like a lot of times if I see things or I feel things, they tell you the king, or imagination takes over, right?
Yeah,
There's still that factor. But in this factor, everyone, even my uncles and them, like everyone was feeling it. And then like it was the moment, and it was funny, I didn't even have to tell you. There was something y'all were already like feeling it, and they do. And then when I said it, I only validated it, and so then that made the experience even scarier, honestly.
Yeah.
And then it was a sad ceremony too, because
it was.
We knew it was the end.
Yeah.
And so I was glad that I had y'all on that trip, just because. So Henry, what is one of the what was something you took out of the Hwj experience? Tagging along with me, what was something you took out of it a lot that is not like ting neng or nothing really, like not about onang, but it can be like Hmong culture, anything. It could be like ethics, I don't know, whatever, but not onang.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think a lot of people always wonder like, oh, you probably just learn a lot about Txiv, right? But you build a brotherhood around it. You build family around it, and it's something that you cannot find anywhere else. And I'm just so appreciative of that. But something that I got out of is definitely, I remember this saying too. It's not a saying, but I remember like the general idea of it. And I remember Billy telling me about it, or telling us about it. Because, before you become a Hwj, especially from Billy's aspect, is never think you're higher than others, and always be willing to learn, and humble yourself. Always humble yourself. Don't think that you're all that, And one thing is always be a stepping stone to any of our brothers and sisters, even if they don't identify as like he, him, his, she, her, hers. Just be a stepping stone. Be a good person, and just be a good person, and do the right thing. And there's a lot of things that you talked about, like don't regret. There's a lot of things like don't regret a lot of stuff. Like and it's a lot of things. You learn a lot of things along the way, and it's just a huge opportunity that I'm gonna live by forever. And that's one thing I got out of it. Just being a better person, just humble yourself, and yeah, just be a good person in general. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Overall.
I'm like, oh, that I used to always. I haven't said those words in a while, but I used to
Yeah.
always say those words. I remember when I first started teaching y'all. For me, it was a pivotal moment in my life because that was my freshman year of college, y'all.
Yeah.
Because TT was with me for years before that, and then come on, BT's
Hmm.
name, and it was introduced to HSA and activism at UW Eau Claire, and that was a game changer. And I knew, and we learned about like toxic masculinity and
Yeah.
me wanting to be a better Hmong man. I and from my background, I have a pretty, like I've seen Hmong men be toxic as fuck and hurt
Hmm.
my stomach
Yeah.
forever, and I knew that I wanted us to be better than just a bunch of Hmong men going out there doing onang. I didn't want us to be typical Hmong men.
Yeah.
And I remember like before you could even onang, I would give like freaking lessons. I would give like
Yeah.
I would teach our onang first, and then I would teach and then I would teach I would not teach, but in a way we would have discussions.
Yeah.
And that was it wasn't teaching. It was all dialogues. We would
Yeah.
just have discussions on like Hmong men, privilege, talking
Yeah.
about toxic masculinity. We would have discussions on like Hmong women issues and Hmong LGBTQ, and like we would progress to racism, and we
Yeah.
made sure that and one thing I loved about our Onengs when I think back to like the process of it all is every time we left our ceremony, we drive maybe like 2 hours to Wausau, Stevens Point, I don't know,
Hmm.
Minnesota, we were in Arkansas one time, but
Yeah. Crazy.
every time we come back, we would discuss about the inequalities we saw during Onengs. And I thought
Yeah.
that was so, now that I think back, I think as young people at that time, I think that was so crucial for us to do that because,
Yes.
we all turned out pretty, we're not the perfect Hmong men, but we're pretty good at
Yeah.
keeping accountable. Yeah, for sure. Besides besides Shaman, just like Henry said, a brotherhood. That was I appreciate literally to this day because at that time it was I don't want people to take this the wrong way. It's not like I don't
Hmm.
like my real brother, my blood brothers,
Yeah.
my first cousins, like we're all brothers too, but y'all were some brothers that I needed, and y'all joined us. It's not like I like left my own cousins. Like we have a whole group chat with each other now.
Yeah.
And we literally became family with each other. And I remember joining y'all, and like y'all were the brothers I needed because when we did my mom's job,
Yes.
I needed people to tombo, and y'all were there. Y'all were there besides just Onang. Like y'all were always there, and we were there for each other. Like we literally became family. Like we were all always at your family events. Y'all were at
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
Literally, it was a great time, and I gained family. And one of the biggest thing I loved about it is perspective. I got TT's perspective, TC's, yours, JV's, YT, all the other people. There were so many different perspectives that I was able to get, and it helped me grow so much too. And then the number one thing for me probably is teaching, like learning how to teach, learning how to y'all tell you, because I'm not just a teacher, but you have to
Yes.
and so I had to be Ningjong. Am I Ningjong though? No, just kidding. But we've done some crazy shit, Henry, and I'm glad that it all started from the relationship that you and I have. We literally treat each other like brothers. In front of elders, we literally use ti and gu, and
Yes. We do.
that came from Tutao and everyone too. But
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm
TT.
glad that like we have that with each other, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that when we're serious, I'm like, hey Miku, and like that's being serious, and we just call each other that naturally. Sometimes like y'all all call me Billy, and it's not like a title. Y'all just call me that, and it's just
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just natural, and I don't know, it's been great. Y'all were literally all bongchias for me because forever remember y'all.
Yeah. That's.
Hi everyone, thanks for listening to the Hey Billy podcast. I hope that y'all have had a great time. I hope y'all have had a great time listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you are well, you're safe, and you have a great day, night, evening, morning, whatever it is. Thanks for coming through, and stick around for the next episode.